For 20 years, American truck buyers got price gouged, debt-trapped, and sold pickups that cost more than a house down payment. And now the bill has come due. Not for the car makers, for you. Right now, 3 million brand new trucks are rotting on lots across this country, some of the piles so big you can see them from space. The dealers say prices are high because trucks are scarce. That is a lie. They are choking on trucks they cannot move and hiding them in fields where you will never look. But how did it come to this? How did an industry screaming shortage end up crushing brand new trucks into scrap? Make sure you subscribe, because I started this channel for one reason, to share what dealerships and car makers don't want you to hear. With your support, I can keep making these videos. Now let's get into it. It starts with the size of the pile they are hiding from you, because the numbers make the shortage story fall apart instantly. Right now, there are around 3 million new vehicles sitting unsold on dealer lots and storage yards across the country. And a normal, healthy amount of inventory is about 60 days' worth of trucks on a lot. That is the number the industry considers comfortable. Jeep right now is sitting on 160 days of supply. That is not a typo. Nearly 3 times what a healthy dealership should have. The Stellantis brands as a group, that is Jeep, Ram, and Dodge, are carrying somewhere between 128 and 142 days of trucks and SUVs they cannot move. Some individual pickups have been rotting on lots for 700, even 800 days. Think about that. A brand new truck that has sat unsold for longer than most people keep a puppy before it stops being a puppy. It is like throwing a massive party, cooking for 200 people, and 3 neighbors show up. The food does not disappear just because nobody ate it. Somebody still has to deal with all of it. And the car makers have a very quiet way of dealing with it. Wait until I show you where they are actually hiding these things. Here is where the story gets strange. When a lot fills up, the trucks do not just vanish. They get moved somewhere out of sight, and some of these hiding spots are almost cartoonish. Take Tesla. By May of 2025, Tesla was sitting on close to 10,000 unsold Cybertrucks. 10,000 of them. So what did they do with the overflow? They parked over 100 of them at a dead shopping mall in Farmington Hills, Michigan, in the empty parking lot of a shuttered Bed Bath & Beyond. Rows of brand new stainless steel trucks just baking in the sun outside an abandoned store. The city got so annoyed they went after Tesla for violating local zoning rules. That is how much unsold metal we are talking about. A car maker had to turn a dead mall into a parking lot because there was nowhere else to put the trucks nobody wanted. And honestly, when your futuristic truck ends up stored next to a closed-down home goods store, that tells you everything about how that launch actually went. But here is what should really stop you. Those 100 trucks at a dead mall in Michigan are just one lot in one suburb. This exact thing is happening all over the country, and most of it you are never meant to see. Let me show you just how far this goes. By the first quarter of 2025, Tesla was sitting on a record of around 150,000 unsold vehicles in the United States. So the company started renting overflow lots wherever it could find the space. Near St. Louis, Missouri, Tesla packed hundreds of unsold cars into the parking lot of the old Chesterfield Mall, a shopping center that is literally half demolished. Similar overflow lots full of new Teslas have been spotted in Nevada, in Florida, and in Ohio. Some of these piles have gotten so massive that you can see them in satellite images from space. Rows and rows of brand new cars, so many of them that they show up from orbit. And in Signal Hill, California, residents got so fed up watching unsold cars with paper tags spill out onto their residential streets that they started complaining to the city. This is the part the glossy commercials never show you. Behind the friendly ads and the big rebates, there are secret fields of new vehicles quietly rotting in the sun in states all across America. So the real question is not where they hide them, it is why there are so many in the first place. And the answer starts in Washington. And to understand why this is happening to almost everyone at once, You have to understand who forced these trucks onto the lots in the first place. This is the part that should make your blood boil a little. A lot of these unsold trucks and cars were never built because people asked for them. They were built because Washington told the car makers to build them. The federal government wrote emissions rules designed so that by 2032, roughly 2 out of every 3 new vehicles sold in America would have to be electric. 2 out of 3. So the car makers spent billions retooling factories and pumping out electric trucks to hit those targets. There was just one small problem. Actual buyers, regular people spending their own money, were only choosing electric for about 6 or 7 out of every 100 vehicles. The government planned for 2/3. The driveway delivered less than 1/10. So all those electric trucks that were built to satisfy a mandate had to go somewhere. And they went straight onto the lots and then straight into these overflow yards. The regular buyer never wanted most of them. He just wanted the gas truck he already knew how to fix. And instead, he got left holding the bill for the ones he never asked for. But not every car maker fell for it. One company looked at this whole electric gold rush and quietly said no. And today, they look like the smartest people in the room. Here is the one you are going to enjoy. While Ford and General Motors and just about everyone else were racing to go all electric, the chairman of Toyota, Akio Toyoda, stood up and basically said the whole thing was being oversold. He predicted that fully electric vehicles would top out at around 30% of the market, not 2/3, and he refused to bet the entire company on them. For years, the experts called Toyota a dinosaur, a legacy giant asleep at the wheel, too old and too slow to see where the world was going. Well, look who is laughing now. In the first 4 months of 2026, Toyota's hybrid sales jumped more than 9%, and hybrids made up about 14.5% of every new vehicle sold. Over that same stretch, fully electric sales fell more than 35%. Toyota is carrying about 45 days of inventory, roughly a third of what Jeep is drowning in, because they built what people actually wanted to buy. By simply refusing to panic, Toyota may have dodged billions of dollars in the exact losses that are now burying its rivals. That is what happens when a company listens to the guy in the driveway instead of the guy in the government office. While Toyota was quietly banking that money, the companies that went all in were setting fire to theirs. And nobody torched more cash than Ford. Let me give you the Ford numbers because they are honestly hard to believe. At one point, Ford was losing $44,000 on every single electric vehicle it sold. $44,000 gone on each one. That is more than the price of a brand new gas truck lost on every EV out the door. Even now, after years of cost-cutting and layoffs, Ford is still losing around $23,000 on each electric vehicle. So it is not shocking that Ford confirmed an $11.1 billion loss in 2025 and pointed the finger straight at its electric vehicles. In December, it announced write-downs of $19.5 billion, most of it tied to that same electric business. Last autumn, Ford finally pulled the plug on the electric F-150 Lightning entirely. Its electric sales had crashed about 70% in a single year, falling from 7,187 vehicles in one quarter down to just 2,060. Today, there are only around 400 to 500 new Lightnings left on lots in the entire country. Look, I am not an economist, but if you are losing 23 grand every time you sell a truck, maybe the problem is not the customer. Maybe stop building the truck. Just a thought. But the car makers are not even the ones who feel this the hardest. The people who feel it first are the ones who built these trucks with their own 2 hands. Think about who attacks these trucks together. In March of 2026, General Motors idled its flagship electric vehicle plant in Detroit, the one they proudly named Factory Zero, and laid off the last 1,300 workers still running the line. And that was not a one-time thing. Just months earlier, in the autumn of 2025, GM had already permanently cut 1,200 jobs at that same plant, part of a wave of 3,300 layoffs across its electric operations. Ford did the same. It laid off all 1,600 workers at its battery plant in Glendale, Kentucky, and announced it would turn the place into a factory for data center batteries instead of trucks. Stellantis idled its Warren truck plant for weeks, and the parent company posted a net loss of about $26 billion for the year. $26 billion gone in a single year. But those are not just numbers on a page. These are real people, guys who moved their families across the state for these jobs and bought houses right next to these plants. Imagine giving 20 years to a factory, being proud of every truck that rolled off that line, and then getting sent home because the trucks you built are sitting unsold in a field somewhere. They did nothing wrong. They built exactly what they were told to build. The mandate promised them the future and handed them a pink slip instead. That is the human cost nobody in Washington bothered to count. And it does not stop at the factory gates. Here is the trap nobody explains to you. Dealers do not own most of the trucks on their lot. They borrow the money to stock them through something called floor plan financing. For the first 90 days or so, that loan is basically free, little to no interest. But the second a truck crosses that 90-day line, the meter starts running. By the time a vehicle has been sitting for 120 days, it is costing the dealer somewhere between $25 and $50 a day just to keep it parked there. One truck. Now walk that across a lot with 300 unsold trucks on it, some of them sitting for 400, 500, 700 days. The dealer is bleeding money into the pavement every morning before a single customer walks in. And who eats that? Not the CEO in Detroit. It is the local dealership and the people who work there. Imagine being a salesman on a lot like that. You show up every day to a sea of trucks nobody is buying, your paycheck tied to moving metal that will not move, watching the owner sweat payroll because the floor plan bill keeps climbing. Those are real people, real families, getting squeezed by a pile of trucks a mandate forced onto their lot. And to survive it, dealers start playing some desperate games. Wait until you hear what they do to make a brand new truck disappear off the books. So how does a dealer actually get rid of trucks that will not sell? It happens in stages, and each one is a little more quietly ruthless than the last. First come the incentives. Right now, you can find Ram 1500s advertised at $1,000 under invoice, and that is before you stack the factory cash on top. Interestingly, Jeep, the brand sitting on the most unsold metal in the entire country, is actually discounting less than its rivals, which is its own kind of insanity. When the discounts do not clear the lot fast enough, the dealer moves to trick number 2. They quietly turn that brand new truck into a demo or a loaner. Now, on paper, it is a used vehicle, and it comes off the new inventory books that the floor plan interest is punishing. Same truck, same 6 miles on it. Suddenly, it is used. And when even that does not work, they move the trucks in bulk, straight to fleet buyers. Rental companies, corporations, and government agencies get blocks of these trucks sold to them all at once, just to clear the ground. But here is the question. What happens to the trucks that even the rental companies and the government do not want? That is where this story goes somewhere most people never imagine. Once a truck blows past that 90 and then 120-day mark and still has not sold, retail is basically over for it. So the dealer dumps it into the wholesale channel. That means the vehicle goes to a giant auto auction, the kind of place with thousands of cars lined up in endless rows, and it gets sold off to another dealer, a used car lot, or a wholesale broker, almost always at a loss. Think about what just happened there. A truck that was built brand new, shipped, and put on a lot gets sold at auction having never had a single real owner. It becomes a used truck before anyone ever drove it home. And for a lot of these vehicles, especially the electric ones nobody wanted in the first place, even the auction is a dead end. The bids just are not there. So now you have got trucks that no retail buyer wants, no fleet wants, and no auction buyer will pay a fair price for. They are, for all practical purposes, unsellable. And that is where these brand new trucks meet a fate almost nobody talks about out loud. So here's the answer to the question I asked you at the start. Where did the trucks go when truly nobody will buy them? 2 places. The first is overseas. A lot of unsold inventory gets loaded onto cargo ships and sent to other countries, dumped into foreign markets where the car maker can still squeeze something out of them. The second fate is the one that should make you angry. They get destroyed. Not all of them, so let me be straight with you, because I am not here to lie to you. A lot of the cars you see in those giant storage lots are just waiting for transport, and they will eventually sell. That myth that they crush all of them is overblown. But the genuinely dead ones, the electric trucks that aged out, the models a mandate forced into existence that no human being will pay for, those do get quietly dismantled and scrapped. Brand new vehicles, some of them never driven a single mile on a public road, sent to a yard, parted out, and crushed into a cube of metal. Think about the sheer waste for a second. The steel, the copper, the rubber, the labor of the people who built it, the emissions from the factory that made it, all of it. So a brand new truck could be crushed without ever carrying a family, a toolbox, or a boat behind it. All because a rule in Washington demanded trucks the market never asked for. That is the real cost hiding behind those overflowing lots.
And now for the part that actually lands on you. You might be thinking, well, that is Ford's problem. That is Tesla's problem, not mine. Except it is your problem. Because none of these companies just eat $11 billion losses and move on. Those losses get baked right back into the price of the gas truck you actually do want to buy. The car maker has to claw that money back somewhere, so the sticker on next year's truck creeps up, the financing gets worse, and the cheap, simple work truck that used to exist just quietly disappears from the lineup. And it does not end there. All those unsold trucks getting dumped at auction flood the used market too, which messes with what your current truck is even worth as a trade-in. You never signed up for any of this. You just wanted a truck that starts in the cold and tows what you needed to tow. But you are paying for a mandate you never voted for, one truck payment at a time. The wild part is that the mandate that started this whole mess is now being unwound. The EPA is in the middle of reversing the very electric vehicle rules that forced all this metal onto the lots in the first place. But here is the cruel joke. The factories are already built. The trucks are already made. Millions of them are already sitting out there in the sun. You cannot unbuild 3 million vehicles. So even as Washington quietly admits it got the whole thing wrong, somebody still has to pay for every one of those trucks. And it was never going to be them. It was always going to be you. The EPA's final rule, unwinding the electric vehicle mandate, is set to land later this year, and every automaker is about to find out what their lots are really worth. Subscribe so you get those numbers straight before the dealerships spin them.